Okay, so now we are in Book 1, Chapter 3, and it's called Night Shadows. And basically, Dickens starts out the chapter, this is on page 11, talking about how everybody is kind of a secret to everybody else. Like, you can never really know any other person. So just think for yourself if you think that that's true or not. And I'm actually going to skip just the beginning of the chapter, and I'm going to head to page 13. And the part that I'm skipping is it continues from the last chapter, and Jerry Cruncher kind of bar hops on his way home to deliver that message. And so then we pick back up with Jarvis Lorry, who, remember, we met last time, and he's riding on the Dover Mail headed to Dover, and he's just thinking about some things. So if you go to page 13, and it's the second paragraph from the bottom, he also starts to fall asleep. So it's kind of like he's in between reality and dreams at this point. So it says, but though the bank was almost always with him, and though the coach, in a confused way, like the presence of pain under an opiate, was always with him, there was another current of impression that never ceased to run all through the night. He was on his way to dig someone out of a grave. So this is what he's dreaming about, but there's also some truth to it as well. Now, which of the multitude of faces that showed themselves before him was the true face of the buried person, the shadows of the night did not indicate, but they were all the faces of a man of 45 by years, and they differed principally in the passions they expressed, and in the ghastliness of their worn and wasted state. Pride, contempt, defiance, stubbornness, submission, lamentation succeeded one another, so did varieties of sunken cheek, cadaverous color, emaciated hands and figures, but the face was in the main one face, and every head was prematurely white. So the hair is white, the face looks the same. 100 times the dozing passenger inquired of the specter. A specter is a ghost. Buried how long? The answer was always the same. Almost 18 years. You had abandoned all hope of being dug out long ago. You know that you are recalled to life? They tell me so. I hope you care to live? I can't say. Shall I show her to you? Will you come and see her? The answers to this question were various and contradictory. Sometimes the broken reply was, wait, it would kill me if I saw her too soon. Sometimes it was given in a tender rain of tears, and then it was, take me to her. Sometimes it was staring and bewildered, and then it was, I don't know her, I don't understand. After such imaginary discourse, the passenger in his fancy would dig and dig and dig, now with a spade, now with a great key, now with his hands, to dig this wretched creature out. Got out at last, with earth hanging about his face and hair, he would suddenly fall away to dust. The passenger would then start to himself and lower the window to get the reality of the mist and rain on his cheek. So, let me move this because of the light. Like I said, Laurie is in between sleeping and being awake. And so while he's sleeping, while he's dozed off, he has this imaginary conversation with a ghost who's about 45 years old. He has white hair. And he has this conversation about, do you want to be recalled to life? So you have to kind of think about, like, what does recalled to life mean? And then in the dream, it says that he's digging. Laurie is digging this man out, this passenger out. And it says first he digs with a spade, which is a shovel, which is what we would assume one would dig with. But then he digs with a key. So the question that you have to ask yourself is, where is this person? Like, who is Mr. Laurie going to get, and how is he going to recall him to life and save him? And if he's not actually dead and buried, where's another place that would be like an equivalent of that? And especially that you would need a key to get into. Yet even when his eyes were open on the mist and the rain, on the moving patch of light from the lamps and the hedge at the roadside retreat by jerks, the night shadows outside the coach would fall into the train of the night of the shadows within. The real banking house by Temple Bar, the real business of the past day, the real strong rooms, the real express sent after him, and the real message returned would all be there. Out of the midst of them, the ghostly face would rise, and he would accost it again. Buried how long? Almost 18 years. I hope you care to live? I can't say. Dig, 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 until an impatient movement from one of the two passengers would admonish him to pull up the window and draw his arm securely through the leathern strap and speculate upon the two slumbering forms until his mind lost its hold of them, and they again slid away into the bank and the grave. Buried how long? Almost 18 years. You had abandoned all hope of being dug out long ago. The words were still in his hearing as just spoken, distinctly in his hearing as ever spoken words had been in his life, when the weary passenger started to the consciousness of daylight and found that the shadows of the night were gone. He lowered the window and looked out at the rising sun. There was a ridge of plowed land with a plow upon it where it had been left last night when the horses were unyoked. Beyond, a quiet coppice wood in which many leaves of burning red and golden yellow still remained upon the trees. Although the earth was cold and wet, the sky was clear, and the sun rose bright, placid, and beautiful. 18 years, said the passenger, looking at the sun, gracious creator of day, to be buried alive for 18 years. So also you should notice the difference. So the night before, it's foggy, it's misty, it's hard to see literally, and then obviously figuratively, it's hard for the reader to see what's going on. But when Laurie wakes up the next day, the weather is bright, it's clear. And so the idea is that now he knows what he has to do. So he has some mental clarity as far as what's happening. And we have a tiny bit of clarity. Like there's still obviously some things that we're confused about and we're not in the, we're still in the dark about, but there's a little bit of clarity as to what's happening here. And so that's it for chapter 3.